the recording right around here, and we're going to work off of this as a template for future Friday calls. And the future Friday calls are going to be, my goal is to bring Aaron's expertise and my expertise down to earth for you so that you feel good and not embarrassed at all about inviting friends and family into conference calls like this. So we're fine-tuning. I'm also coming out of kind of a hibernation where I've been like half awake and half motivated to get professional again, but it's really clicking in again. So I'm getting out of daddy daycare mode, stay at home, homeschool dad mode, and back into that crisp, like Wall Street, London mentality, but more evolved than before. And that's, again, where Aaron and I have our overlaps. Aaron helps you develop the internal wealth, and then my Vesica is the external wealth. And it's all about paradigm shifting, because you're probably not even conscious of your breath most of the time. But the path to any mental state that you want to build on, or any mind state that will put you into manifestation and in success and in staying power and stamina, begins with conscious breath. And in that same sense, there's a new breath coming in, a new air, a new energy to the currency systems. Hey, T. Nelson, welcome. And I'm just going to ask everyone, unless you're going to ask a question, just hit mute so I don't hear any background information and everyone can hear me okay. So what I want to do here is create a call structure, a group call structure, where you guys see what it's like to be a client. So for the first 10 minutes, I kind of give you background on where I'm coming from, the axiomatic assumptions and beliefs that I bring to the table that I've pushed through the filters of discernment quite a bit over the years. And then I'm going to walk you through what the experience would be like to be coached in this new way of thinking about investment, money, etc. And there's also a degree of time sensitivity to this, because I really believe that the month of May, the month of June, and even into summer, you're going to be seeing a lot of unexpected chaos. This CV-19, the COVID-19 thing, there's evidence that it was a Harvard Wuhan lab collaboration to create a bioweapon, and the reason for this is it's actually been analyzed. The virus has been analyzed, and it looks like it has splices of not only SARS but also HIV with an enhanced protein code. There are those that are saying the entire thing is nothing but a psyop, but right now it's about 70-80% psyop plus stealth civil war behind the wizard's curtain, paramilitary and intelligence operations fighting on each other as to how much end control they're going to have over the general population. Did it start out as a bioweapon? I believe it did, but I believe that maybe there was a counter operation that was able to make something happen in China that lessened, I guess, the international impact of this. So without going into too much detail on that, because I'm not qualified or classified, I'm just giving you what 12 hours a day of alternative research, plus good sources out of Taiwan, plus intuition, empathy, and also, some trained RV skill, remote viewing skill. That's what I bring to the table. So here's my background. If you were new, a prospective client, or you invited a member of your friend or family to sit in on something like this, I would start out by just letting them know that I was raised in a family where we kind of moved from living in an apartment and moving on up. And my dad went through like night school, and I watched my dad graduate school. He went to St. Joe's and Drexel's in New Jersey, but he was also being handled and guided by some Jesuit church, and even guys that I believe were connected to my dad's father, maybe in Army intelligence, to keep him on a very narrow and focused path of banking. So Northeast, Roman Catholic, pretty religious, pretty strict, pretty old-fashioned upbringing, no silver spoon action. My dad was constantly making us think, I mean, very successfully making us believe that we were middle class as we lived way below our means. And my dad was basically kind of a high-end fixer. He would come in and do a turnaround for, you know, de facto Norwegian Realty, saving their shipping line and, you know, starting the Miami cruise industry based on the Love Boat ideal of the cruise industry. He did that. He saved a bank when he was in his early 30s, First Pennsylvania Bank. But the thing was, I'm adopted. I'm not really a lot like my dad, personality-wise or genetically. I'm very, very right-brained. Grew up very creative, very spacey, very ADD. So when I got to the age where I could actually understand economics enough to start asking my dad questions, my dad was put off by the questions I was asking, because I was asking, why is it like this? Why is it unjust? Why does it have to be like this? How come when you finally pay your house off, you're paying, you know, 4 times what you paid for the house, and almost all of it was interest payments the whole time? Stuff like that my dad didn't like answering. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm interested in money. My dad won't answer my questions. We don't get along. We fight a lot. Maybe I'll just make my own way. Maybe I'll get into the marketing end or the creative writing side of finance, where I'm in marketing, advertising. And I really tried to just not be on the sales side and be on the safe, cushy financial writing, financial marketing side. And that worked up until 9/11. I was working on the 38th floor of the South Tower of the World Trade Center up to 1 month before 9/11, when I started having these, I thought it was sleep apnea, because I was like sitting up in bed, like gasping for air, but it was always concurrent to a vision of a plane hitting a building. I didn't think it had anything to do with the World Trade Center. I thought I was having flashbacks to a movie I saw as a kid, like a 1970s movie of the week. I think it was called The Medusa Touch, about a guy who could cause disasters by looking at things. And I'm like, but for some reason I couldn't sleep, and the insomnia was getting worse and worse and worse. It was almost like a subplot within that movie Fight Club. My sleep just kept getting so bad that my personality was changing, and I just decided I didn't want to work for Oppenheimer anymore at the World Trade Center. So I began negotiating my exit concurrent to taking all my vacation at the same time, kind of like a vacation sabbatical while I was playing games with human resources. And that's when 9/11 happened. After 9/11, I went through this thing where I said to myself, I'm like, I know it sounds kind of spoiled for the son of a banker, but I just said, I don't want to work. If I don't enjoy working, I don't want to commute to a high-rise building anymore that ends up being the target of a terrorist attack. So then I decided that I was going to top off my coursework, recommit to my NLP and hypnosis certification coursework, and see if I could maybe re-engineer my own psychology to being more of a salesperson and not being phobic about cold marketing. Because I was. I had no problem speaking in front of groups. I love that. That's easy. But how do you fill the seats to speak in front of groups? And how do you close the deals? And how do you cold prospect when you don't have the luxury of constantly just, standing on stage and giving presentations? So I took a course in New Jersey at Rutgers University. It was a seminar. It was called Cold Calling for Cowards. And I took all of my self-hypnosis knowledge, all of my NLP knowledge, to try to reprogram myself successfully to be able to pick up the call and do cold calls. It was a little bit like, I don't know if you saw the movie, and if you're easily offended by absolutely atrocious behavior and language, I don't recommend it. But The Wolf of Wall Street has a very, very accurate portrayal of what it's like to hook someone conversationally into a phone call using neurolinguistics and scripting. And I mastered that. I actually taught it to the whole company out of a convention in Atlantic City after my first year, because I made six figures my first year just cold calling on the phone. Now, who was I calling? You know, you guys aren't like a sales class, so I won't go into this. I'm just giving you my background. But what I did was mentally, I told myself, I am here to help that person. I'm not here to sell them something that everyone else is trying to sell them. In my mind, I anchored the belief kinesthetically at a very deep level that everyone I speak to, I'm basically trying to help them out of a burning building. And this was in 2003, 2004. And I was only calling high-end exclusive area codes and zip codes on my call lists. It ended up building to the point I was able to fly once a quarter to London. I continued the skill set until I was able to, get guys into small conference rooms in the city of London and give them presentations on basically how to create unlimited tax-exempt retirement savings. And I had a very clear conscience about that. The only thing I didn't have a clear conscience about was the people I was teaching how to not lose money in the market and how not to pay taxes were already what we called accredited investors. Like, they didn't really need the help. I mean, these guys were already wealthy, but they weren't like super high tier, play golf, have dinners, and somehow just do corrupt deals that make you rich. They weren't at that level. They were at the workaholic level that my dad was at, where you're making high 6, low 7 figures, but you're working your ass off. I mean, you really, really intense stuff. And you might not have access to the inside info that they don't teach the clients. So I know a lot about tactical and dynamic asset allocation and rotating global sectors. And a sector would be like oil versus tech stocks. And right now we're moving into a completely new paradigm of new sectors. And I believe that the new sectors are going to be based on a form of decentralized finance relying on smart contracts. I believe that Wall Street was already toast in 2001, 2008. They hammered the nail in the coffins. And then now in 2020, you think there's still a Wall Street, but it's just a puppet show. It's just a derivative puppet show with maybe only 5% of the people going to work doing the same things again. And I believe that Wall Street is on the verge of extinction. Washington, D.C., and the mainstream media, as we know them today, they're on the verge of extinction. I mean, literally within a year or two, you're going to look back and go, God, wasn't it only 2 or 3 years ago that we still had CNN and CNBC and we all commuted to work? And, so that I believe that what Aaron and I are offering is a way, as a roadmap, not just a roadmap, but one-on-one coaching, where we're not just selling a book, but we're creating a relationship with you where we take you by the hand and step by step get you through this minefield that I affectionately call the eye of the needle. Because it doesn't matter how smart or educated or connected you are, if you don't have money in cash, like a lot of cash that you can access easily without the bank getting red flags and saying, why do you want your cash? If you don't have cash, if you don't have precious metals, and most people don't, or if you don't have cryptocurrency, you're going to be in a very tough situation with a lot of other people where you're treading water trying to re-educate yourself on the fly while under incredible stress, and maybe concurrent supply chain collapses and even like food shortages. Maybe not so much in America, but enough to feel it, enough to notice the difference on the shelves, the difference in the pricing, difference in availability. Whereas that same thing, let's say in Europe, could be devastating. Countries such as the Ukraine and Romania have already banned export of grains. It doesn't look like Ukraine has banned it, but they're only selling to Russia and former Soviet republics. And Romania has just outright banned wheat exports. Okay, Rob, where's this coming from? You were telling us about your background, and you're telling us about paradigm shifts. Now we're talking about agricultural collapse. This is an important side note because we're entering into a grand solar minimum that, cyclically speaking, looks like it's a layer upon a layer of past cycles where we get to experience something like a mini ice age for maybe 5 to 10 years. That would mean that the currents are changing, the air currents, the weather patterns, but not toward a global warming, sea level rising type situation, but more of a, oh my God, we can't plant wheat because there's still snow on the ground or it's still wet, and we can't harvest the wheat because the growing season is so short. That's more along the lines of what I'm looking at. Also, there appears to be both not organic, it's the wrong word for talking about this kind of food, but a natural industry shortage of meat processing, but also an engineered shortage of animal products. And let's say that you're almost a vegan or borderline vegetarian and you really care about all of these issues, but you've got young kids and you need access to whole organic milk, and you never think twice about that. Or, the suffering is reduced if you're kind of just like a milk and egg type vegetarian. Well, even that could get taken away because there are, globalist groups that want to control what you consider to be your staples, and they want to take all of that out of there, all of the animal agricultural out. Concurrently, China has like a hog collapse, so they didn't even get to celebrate Lunar New Year with the typical pork dishes that they have. This is important. It might sound like gibberish, but in hindsight, a year from now, you're going to look back and go, oh yeah, it's like meat's super expensive. That's what Rob's talking about. And if we're feeling it here in the US or in the West, it's going to be a lot worse everywhere else. So leading you in now to kind of like the do-it-yourself version of a crypto coaching call. My goal here is that if you never hired me and you only wanted to know that there was someone out there who you thought enough alike and liked enough to refer family and friends to like a Zoom call like this, that it would be palatable and easy to understand. If you are unable to save enough to make a significant investment into crypto, in my book, it's at least $1,000 or $2,000 into cryptocurrency, and you have 500 or less. And the cost of hiring someone like me would be, in the 200 or 300 range. And you don't want to spend 200 or 300 of the only 500 that you're going to be investing in crypto. Then I want to provide you an outline or a blueprint that would help you avoid spinning your wheels, wasting your time, and making mistakes. And that's what I want to present today, because it's very similar to the way I open up a first call with a client. And I start out by finding what's most important to the client about money. I want to know how much quote unquote dry powder is there, how much capital is there that you can put away for a minimum of 48 months. And that's what the minimum should be, 4-year minimum. Why? Because in crypto, there are 4-year halving cycles where at worst, you should be making about 10 times your investment within the 4-year period. And there have also been periods within the short history of cryptocurrency where you could be making 5 to 10 times your money almost every year on average. One of the turnoffs about the cryptocurrency market is that people also see it swing 90 to 95% in pricing, and they haven't had the slideshow presentation showing that the rolling 4-year highs are always higher and the lows are always higher as well. So again, if you can picture yourself on a 4-year minimum trajectory, you should be okay. I'm not a trading coach. I know how to trade. I can't honestly look you in the eye and tell you I'm a good trader, because I don't enjoy it. It requires a very dispassionate, mechanical temperament, which I don't have. I'm really not even motivated unless I'm excited by something, and I have to be excited about the big picture and the way that lifts all boats and improves all people's lives. And if I can find a path or a roadmap toward that lifting everyone 4 years in the future minimum, to a point where they're wealthy. I mean, if you're only starting out with $1,000 or $2,000, I believe I can hook you up with an asset allocation that will put you in the mid to high six figures. And if you can invest 10, 20, $50,000 in crypto, I believe you're not looking at seven figures. You're looking potentially at eight figures in 60 months or more if it's properly allocated. Okay, so what's my MO? What's my modus operandi? Why am I only charging for Facebook discounted friends $222, and for the general public only $499 for the hand-holding step-by-step soup to nuts coaching? Why? Do I need the money? Actually, I don't. I have a passive income stream that's enough to cover our bills, not enough for me to enjoy weekend trips to Sacramento and take the kids to the zoo or things like that. I live on the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe, and we cross over the Lake Tahoe crater, and then we head west and drive a couple hours and a half to Sacramento, and we'll do a night there so the kids can go to the park and go to the zoo and have some fun and feel like we just got out of the high desert for a weekend. I can't do that as much as I want to. I can't upgrade my car, blah, blah, blah. I'm in a kind of a middle-class situation like everyone else. But am I working for this money? I'm not so much interested in the fee that you're paying me. I'm interested in making you wealthy enough that in 48 to 60 months, and we've been doing a good job at attracting kindred spirits and real friends who think like us. At the end of that 4 or 5 year period, we want you to be part of a cooperative crypto bank, because if we can then take our crypto wealth, have it completely safe while generating interest and loan value. Aaron and I know some of you are thinking of what's true wealth in this new paradigm. What is true wealth? Is it a certain amount of passive yield off of my portfolio so that I can afford my healthcare expenses? We don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think Aaron thinks so. And I don't think most of you, I think you see everything hitting a wall. If you think like us, the medical system is going to be turned on its head. The insurance systems are going to be turned on their head. The entire financial system and political system will be upside down within 48 to 60 months. So what is real wealth? Well, in my book, real wealth is maybe not having to pay for your electricity and maybe growing at least half to 80% of your own food on your own property in a way where you're living kind of like in a high-end earthship, in an earthship community where you're not paying for your water, your food, or your electricity, and everyone is working virtually, but it also has a little bit of an artist colony feel to it, surrounded by food forests, hemp processing, hemp fields, and advanced aquaponic and hydroponic farming going on. To us, at least to me, and I know to Aaron and some of you, that's kind of like the communal utopia. Definitely not a communist, because I want a standard of living that's like Club Med level standard of living where you don't worry about expenses. And most socialism, communalism, communism, it's not necessarily voluntary and people are only equal in their poverty. Well, in this situation, it's like you're all living like retirees in kind of like a resort environment. And that is going to be the goal behind the crypto bank. I own cryptobank.com and .io. And I also own the spelling of crypto bank that is Germanic or Dutch. So the crypto is with a K. And then what would have been the K at the end of the word bank is a C. So it's crypto bank with a K ending with a C at the end. And I'm not even going to launch that for probably a couple years until we've made our inner circle of clients and friends wealthy enough that they would want to stake in such a thing. So big picture, you have to ask yourself what's most important. And can you think in terms of like a 5-year holding period, or at least 48 to 60 months? If the answers to those two things are yes, I am able to identify what's most important about money to me, and I can see a path of survival and some level of stability for the next 4 to 5 years, then you're an ideal client. What do you get? You get 90 minutes to 2 hours of incredibly dense downloading on step-by-step how to set up the exchange accounts, how to connect your bank accounts, how to connect your checking accounts, how to have like a backup exchange and a backup checking account, just to make sure that if there are law changes or crackdowns on crypto that you've got like plan Bs in place. But the most important thing that I try to teach is that you don't want to think of this as an asset class that you trade or hold for future spending. In other words, by spending, I mean converting back into the US dollar. Whenever you're buying your Bitcoin, your Litecoin, your Digibyte, your Theta, or whatever you decide from our advice you would want to make part of your long-term portfolio, we're encouraging our clients not to think of that as an investment that you cash back into dollars and then spend in some kind of paper trail where a future government agency could, watch what you're doing. We're saying purchase it online, but then pull it offline as soon as you buy it. Coinbase doesn't like that too much. I'm pretty sure they've got some AI algorithms that are already saying don't bring Rob Sullivan back as a client, because as soon as I buy my Litecoin or my Bitcoin, I move it right onto a Nano Ledger X, S, or Trezor. I prefer Trezor. That's capital T, capital R, capital E, Z, capital O, capital R. Trezor, all caps. I believe they make it in the Czech Republic, and you don't want to buy it from a middleman. If you're going to buy it on Amazon, make sure it's directly from the manufacturer. This is basically the kind of conversation I'm having on my first call with a client. I'm letting them know first how to be safe and how to think. So get the Coinbase account set up, get the Kraken account set up, Gemini, Bitfinex, whatever you think that you don't mind jumping through the hoops, and whoever will allow you to connect the checking account. And then I say, try to get a plan B. Try to have more than one exchange. Have more than one wallet if you can afford it. If you can afford more than just a Trezor, have a ledger and a Trezor. And then we're going to get you used to setting up your private keys, your seed codes, where if you ever lost the wallet, you would still be able to get back into the blockchain and get control of your cryptocurrency again. And I can imagine some of the thoughts that are going through your mind right now, such as, well, the banking system might be on the verge of going up in smoke, or limiting the amount I can pull out, or going in and taking, money out. But at least I'm familiar with that devil. What I'm really worried about is the devil I don't know, the devil of being 100% responsible for all of my own money. And if I lose it, it's not like traveler's checks in the old days. I don't think anyone is old enough to remember what I'm talking about, but the American Express used to have traveler's checks where if you're going overseas and you lost your traveler's checks, there was an emergency number you could call where they could look up your numbers and get the money back to you again. You can't do that in crypto. If you lose your wallet, or you lose your keys, or you're silly enough to not hire someone like me and Aaron, and you leave it on the exchange, and the exchange goes like Mount Gox one day and just has a major hack and no one can get their money out, then it was never your money to begin with. It has to be in the private wallet. So step one, money paradigm. It's kind of like a mini seminar on how to think about how everything's going to change. Step two, planting the seed for the mental discipline of saying, I don't touch whatever this amount of money is. I don't touch that for 4 to 5 to 6 years minimum to get through at least one full halving cycle, so that even if there are huge, like 80, 70, 90% swings in the price of cryptos, it doesn't matter, because your time window was outside of the minimum one cycle period, meaning whatever the highest high was, or the lowest low will be higher in the future, and the high will be higher as well, because we don't want you to cash it back into dollars, leave a paper trail, leave yourself open for taxes or audits. We believe that in 5 years there should be enough of an online crypto marketplace, and you can already see it through Amazon. I mean, if Amazon survives, despite Bezos taking out all 46 billion of his money right before COVID hit. If it's still there as some kind of infrastructure or utility play, they are taking crypto. So if you can get the eBays of the world, the Overstock.coms of the world, the Amazons of the world, the Walmarts of the world, the Costcos of the world, and also, overseas, I'm familiar with some of the big British companies too. Not as much in Germany, in Australia and New Zealand and Canada, but within 5 years, there's no reason that you'd ever have to create a taxable event going from crypto back to cash. Now, I've just been verbally downloading on you guys for like nonstop for several minutes. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to check in with Aaron, see if there are any questions before I move into the next topic. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we've got 5 friends with us here. It's everyone that we already know and have talked to before. So if you guys want to throw in a question for Aaron to read to me, please feel free now. Otherwise, I'll just keep going at the same dense download pace that I'm giving you. Okay, I don't see any more questions. Should I just keep going?
Yeah, you can keep going, Rob. Another question I remember that someone had asked in the last call that I don't think we got to touch on was when if something goes down with the exchanges where it's difficult to cash out, will knowing a Rolodex of local contacts to exchange crypto be important? How important will knowing people in the person be to in a scenario like that?
Well, I think I understand your question because it's something that's on my mind a lot. It's building a tight community of all of the clients being friends with each other and saying, can we do peer-to-peer? For instance, I'm in a situation right now where I've got hundreds of Litecoin, and I would love to get some Digibyte. Did you guys load up on Digibyte? Would you like to trade some Litecoin or Theta for that? That kind of situation. But here's the real problem. If you've made the mistake of thinking, that the wallet, that the exchange is a wallet, because they're going to mess you up with their vocabulary. They're going to trick you into saying, oh yeah, you do have a wallet with Coinbase. We have a great wallet. We have a Coinbase wallet. You can have it right on your iPhone or your Android or your Samsung, whatever. But it's a misnomer, because the way vets like Aaron and I would define the word wallet is a cold storage wallet that looks like a key fob. And, I actually have my phone sitting on a mini safe that has my wallets in them, so I can't open it while I'm talking to you. I'd love to. But just to illustrate, they look like little car key fobs, and worst comes to worst, you've just got to be like Johnny Mnemonic, and you've got to have a little rhyming story that has all the words in it that will allow you to unzip your assets again. Is it scary knowing that you're 100% responsible for that? No more scary than inheriting some gold bars and being forced to store them in your house. What do you do? How do you handle it? Well, you don't tell a lot of people outside of our little inner circle here that you've got it in the first place. And then, and then spend dozens of hours looking up best practices for personal security, hiding things in your home, or hire someone like me and Aaron, where we can just tell you, yeah, this is how we do it. And this is why we're not worried about being responsible for our entire nest egg physically on our person, because it's half on our person, half in our heads, and maybe 1/3 or 1/2 on a piece of paper that we keep somewhere else. So these are all things that might sound unfamiliar if you haven't yet gotten your feet wet, your hands dirty in crypto yet. But this is all the more reason why getting me at such a deep discount as a Facebook friend for only $222 and a minimum of 2 hours. Of course, we don't want to look completely like, we're giving it away, so we don't tell anyone in the ad that once you've hired us, we limit it to 2 hours of coaching. We don't. We think we can get all the coaching done one-on-one, Skype or cell phone within a 2-hour period, but then you always have access to us for the rest of the year, probably forever if you're a kindred spirit, but for, per the contract, for a minimum of a year, unlimited email, unlimited like quick calls, like real quick calls. Rob, I need to talk to you about this. I'm a little worried. I think that I attempted to do a transfer of LTC, but I can't find it. That's when, that's when I've got to get my darling wife, who's my tech admin, to take some time off from the baby and maybe share a screen with you, and then all three of us will work it out. But there was a time when I was a 14-year-old geek that I knew how to program in BASIC and do all kinds of stuff on the web. But time has gone on, things have gotten more complicated, and I've delegated all of that to the point that I'm not much of a tech head anymore. So we've got the resources for you, though. We can share screens and we can work you through emergency problems.
With you, Rob, I used to work with people like you, in the venture capital world. We would encounter analysts and writers, and you got, your hourly rates are 4 figures, so for everyone that's on the call, if you do have family members who are thinking about it, having them join a call like this, which we're hosting every week or every other week, it's invaluable. I mean, Rob has just such a great heart. It's why I'm putting my time and energy into this, is because he wants to help people, and I do too. I'm coming at it from a different angle, and yet we're arriving in the same place, same vesica. So I would really encourage you guys to bring any friends or family and be like, there's this really unique, gifted guy from the finance world that could help answer just basic questions if you've ever heard someone talk about crypto curiously, or even a little pejoratively, because I think he's an expert.
Yeah, see, I don't come from the side of the financial services business that is like the casino Wolf of Wall Street side. The only thing that I really saw value in that movie, Wolf of Wall Street, was how they scripted the psychological conversation. Other than that, I mean, we were polar opposites. I come from the financial planning, estate planning, insurance, and risk management side. JP Morgan, let me give you an example. Here's a concrete example, okay? JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs have now publicly, in the last 24, 48 hours, put out a memo to their clients saying, we don't recommend that you ever buy Bitcoin. Well, the thing about JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs is they're not fiduciaries. They're pirate casinos who are allowed to trade against their own client book. I know this for a fact. I've personally serviced a London director of Goldman Sachs, and I've dealt with JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs executives, and it's hard to explain. It's really Hollywood fiction to sit across from someone, and you've got a medical device that helps people who are permanently on dialysis to recover. It's an artificial kidney. You can't put it inside the body. It has to be plugged in to the dialysis circuit, but it pulls so much more toxins and middleweight cytokines out of the blood and out of the tissue. It leaches it out of the tissue, out of the bones, all the stuff that was going to have the person dying within 48 to 60 months of starting dialysis. Like we had a device based on Russian polymer nanotech that would have you living the rest of your life and going to dialysis less. So instead of 3 times a week, 2 times a week, and then your life expectancy isn't 60 months with end-stage renal failure. It is now 20 years. Well, it was a shock at the age of 29, seeing the look of the Goldman Sachs lady just shake her head no, as if they're going to stop you in your tracks for extending life expectancy. I mean, because it really is as bad as the conspiracy theories infer. They're monetizing your death. They're monetizing eugenics. They're monetizing depopulation. We got nixed by Medicaid or Medicare? Medicare. Was it one or the other? Medicaid or Medicare is also in charge of end-stage renal failure patients. They wouldn't allow us to even get through the FDA. It's all incestuous. They're all one big agency, believe it or not. They wouldn't allow us to get through the FDA clinical trials for the purpose that the dialysis filter was doing, which was life extension of renal failure patients. Boy, I have this feeling that I said way too many words for the idea I was trying to get across, but it's evil. And they're not fiduciaries. I am a fiduciary. So you've got a guy who's got these battle scars. I fought in the foxholes. I've dealt with these devils and demons and gargoyles and whatever you want to call them. I'm very familiar with House Slytherin. I don't know if I qualify as Hogwarts, but I'm very familiar with Slytherin. I need some comedic relief. Anyone want to jump in on that? So we're fiduciaries. We're not trying to make money off you. We want to train you to be successful and make money with you, because 5 years from now, I would like you to be stakeholders in Crypto Bank, where we just finance or organic food forests and desalinization, hyper-efficient / free energy. I would like to mainstream alternative like medical services, and all of that's going to be possible in a hopefully in a post-Trump world after we get through these eye of the needle birth pangs. But I'm showing us, Aaron, as being over an hour, and if we got this recorded and I can learn how to edit video, I think we've got some decent stuff here to get people interested, in the next one. And if we can get like a couple dozen and then maybe eventually 100 people in one of these rooms, we could have a real forum where people feel safe, like they're not on their own, trying to figure all this stuff on their own, because the Goldman Sachses and the JP Morgans of the world want you to be ignorant. They only want you to buy their derivative fund, version of crypto, and they'll never teach you to hold it offline and be your own bank. And I guess that's the way to wrap it up. We're heart-centered, empathic intuitives. That's a polite way of saying we're kind of psychic. I never promoted myself as a psychic, but I've found that it's helped me in financial services, and I've honed it with neurolinguistics, hypnosis, Tony Robbins trainings, RV trainings, and we have a very flexible pathwork to make it through this eye of the needle, and on the other side, have you guys basically be owning your own banks, and that's my goal, is to get you to own your own bank.
Well, and
this is one of my...
Everyone on the call is psychic as well. I mean, everyone.
Yeah, we all are. I mean, we're all attracted to each other,
and it's why you guys are here. And so it's great that we're all together right now. And yeah, I really appreciate what you shared today, Rob. It was new, it was fresh, and I think. Are there any other questions before we end?
We're also open to constructive criticism. I would like to improve by the next call. And if you guys would like me to focus less on something but more on something else that you think a friend or a relative would want to hear about. Let's see, Tori, I see a question from here. What do you see happening with the halving? Okay, Tori, I'm tell you what, you're a friend and we have a small group, so I'm going to answer you as if it's just me and you talking. But I might not answer this the same way if we had like dozens of people I don't know, okay? Personally, I think that we are going to end the year between 30 and 50,000 on BTC, and then before the end of 2021, I think we're going to be averaging a price between $250,000 and $500,000 in BTC. Personally, what's my biggest concern, and whether you're asking me this or not, I'm going to tell you what my biggest concern is. My biggest concern isn't whether or not Litecoin will swap with Bitcoin on the Lightning Network at a better ratio than 186, because right now it's 186 Litecoin to 1 Bitcoin. When I started playing the swap game, which I haven't really failed at yet. It's just forcing us to be patient. I did it between 65 Litecoin to 1 Bitcoin and about 115. So between 65 and let's just say between 60 and 120, I thought I would get to swing that and just increase the coin count of my client portfolios. But now it looks that it's pushing 200, and we just have to be patient. So assuming that Bitcoin is going to end the year between 30 and 50,000, maybe higher, and that next year it's going to be averaging between 250,000 and 500,000, I would strongly advise that unless you've got my level of discipline and faith and you just want to keep doubling down on Litecoin, buy 50% Bitcoin, 50% Litecoin. Also, I am personally seeking to rebuild my Digibyte position. So you can buy 1,000 Digibyte for about $150, $160 right now. And I'm looking for people that have like tens of thousands or 100,000 Digibyte that wouldn't mind doing some either like a PayPal cash transfer, some Theta, and or some Litecoin, because that's what I've got right now to trade. Where do you buy DGB? If I can remember okay, so Binance is the quick and dirty answer. But what I was doing is I was buying Satoshis, in other words, BTC fractions. I was buying BTC fractions on Coinbase and Kraken, and then I was doing on-wallet exchanges, on-wallet swaps. I think I was using Trezor. It might have been Ledger. Forgive me, but it was an on-wallet swap where I didn't even have to bother going back to the exchange to try to find a Digibyte LTC or Digibyte BTC pair. Because I get very nervous even having my money on an exchange for 24 hours. Because I'm worried that Murphy's Law is going to, smack me and teach me a lesson for not even 24 hours on those exchanges. Is there an exchange that I think will survive the transition? Yes. Coinbase will, and I believe Gemini will. Because Gemini has those twins, the Winklevoss twins, who were the ones who really came up with the idea of Facebook, and then it was kind of stolen by Zuckerberg. You've got those guys. I think they might be two of the wealthiest BTC holders on the planet, two of the biggest bag holders on the planet. They own a significant percent of the BTC. So just because of their capital position, and you don't mind jumping through their KYC, I think Gemini will continue to be around. And I think Coinbase will be around because the Trump administration is beginning to tap executives at Coinbase for help with the Treasury. Now, why would they be doing that? I mean, obviously, they're trying to get the dollar on a blockchain, right? Okay, so my whiteboard needs to be updated, but so I had touched on this briefly. I'll just go through it real short. So we've got infinite QE, and we've got Coinbase now being tapped for U.S. Treasury appointments, and then Trump is the de facto acting realpolitik Federal Reserve Chairman right now. In other words, the Fed is now working for the Treasury rather than the Treasury working for the Fed. That would have only happened under Trump. And all debt is being bought, including junk bonds. So the bankers are really having a drunken orgy party of the time with free money. I mean, they're literally just printing money for their friends right now. But you can't be a part of that unless you buy crypto. And I'm also a strong believer in trying to own at least 10 pounds of silver if you can. But if I had to choose between crypto and silver, oh man. Depends on where you live. Like if you live in an urban zone that could collapse, it's a lot easier traveling with something no heavier than your car key, and that you carry, a code in your head when no one can hack it, than trying to lug around a 10, 20 pound box of silver while you've got the kids in the car and suitcases on the roof trying to figure out, are there any Airbnbs that we can live in while we figure out where we're going to relocate? And I think that's a real situation for a lot of people. I also have heard chatter, and I know a lot of people in this room. This is a very tight group. Everyone knows me. I know all of you. I've also heard chatter that the Pacific Northwest, specifically around the Washington and Cascadia fault line area, is at risk for a possible black flag, false flag situation. It bothers me that Bezos, who I never liked and I knew was CIA from the beginning, the fact that he's taken everything out, 46 billion, means he's not personally invested in the Amazon thing anymore. Amazon servers could get taken out if something in the greater Washington area gets attacked. So you've got Microsoft, you've got Amazon, you've got Seattle, and that looks like a potential hot zone between now and the end of summer. And let's just, pray that the Patriots and, military intelligence and the whole QAnon team, let's just pray they know about this and there's counter interdictions going. But there are surprises. Yeah, I mean, Tori, feel free to undo your mic and just tell me what you mean by canaries in the coal mine, because I see nothing but dead canaries everywhere. And I'm trying to sound sane and reasonable to be referable, but it's like, if I were doing a bong hit in a glass of wine with you and it was just us having appetizers or something, the stuff I would be saying would be much more along the lines of exopolitical. In other words, there's stuff going on with the secret space programming, the space program and Antarctica that overlay what you think is going on in DC and in Brussels. I mean, there's like real Star Trek level stuff taking place concurrently.
I noticed that Deutsche Bank has just put negative interest rates on people with accounts over $100,000, and I was always kind of watching that as like kind of a sign that just a domino for like banks failing in Europe. But to your point there, I feel like I can't wait to get to the 250,000 point for like Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. But like what happens between now and then is I just know is going to be like, people aren't going to be paying attention to like Bitcoin. Like right. It'll only be towards the end, like, cause I got turned on to Bitcoin at like December 2017. Somebody gave me some. I didn't even want any. I wanted to stay completely away from it, but somebody gave me some for my birthday in November, and I was like, "Oh, look at this! It just went up." And then I bought a little bit more, and then I was smart enough not to buy any. It dropped again, and then I waited until it like bottomed out. But that, thanks to you, like kind of just.
Yeah, I'm honored to be of service. Also, you were in Hawaii for a while, and then you moved back to the East Coast, right?
Yep. I grew up in the Chicagoland area, and then after the military, I spent some time in Hawaii, 2.5 years, and then I'm living in Tennessee now.
Was it your intuition that said, "Get the heck out of Hawaii"? I'm in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and we're 100% tourism, or what?
Well, like I'm really glad that I did it because I lived on a permaculture kind of designed house. I was right next to the university, and I was doing a work stay. So I put in about 30 hours a month is what I was required to do, which is
cool. Sounds like Ubuntu or something, right?
Something like it was just like it was like a community house that was right next to the university, and most of us were students. And about half the house was like fully committed to the garden. But I lived in a tent in the back, and I like basically was living for free. But I was in like a phase where I was just trying to get like away from it all. I was trying to like get it, but I realized you can't, because the financial system, you have to, like the landlord of that house, he was really kind of hyper focused on like making money, and he kind of propped up the ideals, and they didn't quite balance out. So like I was in this phase where I wanted to learn all that stuff and be able to apply it and like kind of decompress from my time in the military. But then I I realized that it is almost like an illusion or like a facade. And until you address the underlying issues that are going on, like it's not very like, it still has these problems in place, but it was invaluable like knowledge to be like gardening and stuff every single day. But my family ended up moving to Tennessee, some of them. So I didn't want to get, I didn't kind of didn't want to get left out, and I'm living on disability. So it's way easier to live here
Yeah.
than it is in Hawaii.
Because I've been thinking about you a little bit recently, and I know when I noticed that you were no longer in Hawaii, I was thinking to myself, wow, I've really underestimated Tori, because his intuition is amazing. Because I don't like scaring friends that live in Hawaii. I hate making people, because I'm no longer close friends after that anymore. You know what I mean? It's like I said something that will never make them feel comfortable again, but I had to say it, because Hawaii, it's like everything's imported. It's 100% tourism. It's got one of the most corrupt governments, and it's going to get weird out there in the middle of the Pacific when
I was on the Big Island and on the east side.
Weird.
So it's like, as far as the Hawaii goes, it was like the most local you could probably get, unless you're like just maybe Kauai a little, but even Kauai it's just way smaller. Big Island's a lot bigger, but I think they import like 90% of their food or more. But I know a lot of the guys that are like doing like living the lifestyle that they like would need to try to totally transform Hawaii. The problem is that they apply that politics to like the mainland, and they just have this thing where they want to disconnect from it all and be in contempt for it without trying to understand it and reconcile it and bring it. And when you're in like 2 decades into a war, and there's major shifts that took place that you weren't paying attention on where they took place.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm like living proof that there's good people within the system that like tried to do the right thing and turn it around. And then when I see people like Flynn and General Dunford, and what you were saying around the 2015 time frame about how Obama kind of got approached by the Marines, and there was kind of a transition that took place behind the scenes.
Yeah, like a preemptive, like the people behind Trump got to Obama before Trump came in, right?
Right when he did the Obama out speech and dropped the mic.
Yeah.
I remember you saying that, and so I didn't believe it, and I stayed silent about Trump for basically a year after he got elected, and just watched. But he's proven it to me now 100% that he's going after these people, and they're scared shitless, and he's going to set a precedent here, I think, in the summer with going after the coup plotters.
He has to. I mean, we're out of time now, It's like the truest believers of us all are like, okay, well, even if he does it tomorrow, we're still at a 40% unemployment rate. Half of those companies are never coming back, and cutting checks and burning the printing presses. It's like we're all still facing the cliff. The best prepared of all of us are still facing the same cliff as everyone else. It's kind of like we're jumping off Niagara Falls, and some people are going to be 99% of people are going to be doing it naked, and then some of us are going to have this homemade blow up raft wrapped around us that says crypto and silver on it, and we're going to hope that we don't get crushed by the rocks like everyone else. It's like just faith is required here, because it's 5D chess. And as smart as I like to think I am, I'm more an intuitive than I am an intellect, really. I just got to feel my way through this, and be prepared. And that's about. Thanks for hanging with me, too. When I thought that you were, an incurable Bernie bro, I totally underestimated your character. So thanks for being a friend.
Because I lived with them, but they all turned on me when I started. I was just a Jill Stein fan because I thought she was the only one talking about like a solid.
No, it's cool.
But Trump, you can't speak. You have to play this multidimensional game. Otherwise, the end result just won't be there.
Yeah,
and he's teaching me that for sure. But no, it's all right. I don't mind getting yelled at. And I want to get better. I'm pretty you were right about a lot of things.
I liked you too much to keep it to myself. I had to haze you, but I'm glad that we're all on the same page. And by the way, I'm less of a Nazi in real life than I appear on Facebook. 9 out of 10 times that I'm appearing like crazy or rough around the edges on Facebook is just really after getting triggered by some people who refuse to even like click a link or get to the bottom of their obsession with fake news. And I use Facebook to a great degree as almost like a therapy journal as well. I'm willing to be way more transparent than I should be because I'm thinking, like every day, it's not like I'm socially retarded and don't know I'm taking risks online. It's that, am I attracting the kindred spirits that appreciate my honesty and transparency more than I'm putting myself and my family at risk? And I've noticed that after I left Denver, the gaslighting stopped. The break-ins, the weird electrical things, my computer smoking and dying on me, stuff like that doesn't happen anymore out here in Nevada. Maybe it would in Vegas, but where I am in the high desert of near Tahoe, it's like no one's got time for it. Hey, does anyone else want to hit me with any questions while you've got me? It looks like we've got like lots of time here, like unlike most of the time. Let's see. Corey, how are you doing? T. Nelson. And we got Crystal. And that's it. Just our tight little group here. Crystal, anything? JM, anything? What do we need?
Hi, Rob. I just want to tell you that I really enjoy that you're going with the many subjects. I have no problem following you. Don't worry about it. I love when you're speaking about crypto and you're talking about the deep state. I don't have any worry about that. And something tells me that it's all linked. So
yeah.
I don't mind really when you're going too many paths. So carry on with that.
Well, it's a pleasure. So are you in? Where are you located, JM?
I'm located in Quebec City, in
Quebec
Canada.
City, okay.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah,
great.
so...
it's one of my favorite cities. I was there shortly after 9/11, and I had to get out of America. I remember crossing the border and actually being given a hard time for the first time. I'm like, oh, guys, this is what it's going to be like? She's like, why are you coming in? Why are you coming over? And I said, well, to have dinner. She's like, you're crossing a national boundary just to have dinner? I think she was just teasing.
Yeah, but, we have a lot of cool restaurants over in Quebec City. It's really
you've got the best
yeah.
French fries in the world. The best French fries in the world. Dip them in mayo, man. They're perfect. Yeah. They don't need ketchup. They need mayo.
Also, the famous poutine with it's gravy, French fries, and cheese.
I miss it. Those were back in the days when I had a high income and a lot of unsecured credit on credit cards. So I am really down in the trenches with everybody waiting for Bitcoin and Litecoin and everything to moonshot so I can start traveling and meeting my kindred spirits. But thanks for chiming in.
Yes, I hope so. By the way, I just want to tell you that I've got the Trezor. I've got some Litecoins. I'm into crypto since 2017 too. So it's funny that like Tori is started in 2017, and you also, I think. So it's really funny that we all started together.
Yeah, I was lucky. I tried to get in December of 2016, and I was able to get my first 3 or 4 Bitcoin for under $1,500. And then I discovered the mistake of over diversifying, and I had 20 altcoins. And then after the market crashed, or as it was crashing, I said, okay, I can either dig in my heels and let my ego destroy me, or I can completely change, become a Bitcoin maximalist, and then maybe create a thesis for Litecoin being like, one of the best altcoins. But I consolidated everything once it started crashing, and there were so many coins I was excited about, like Salt. I'm like, Salt's going to be like the lending platform, so we never have to go to fiat. And I grew up a lot. But the one thing I do want to pat myself on the back for is like, as egotistical as I can seem sometimes, I immediately changed course and told everybody, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm reconsolidating into Bitcoin, Litecoin maximalism. And I'm happy about it. I'm
Um,
happy.
I think we made the same mistake actually, because I did the same thing. I went all in alt coins and I lost really a lot when the all the alt market just dropped. I lost a lot, but now I learn. I'm back and I'm reinvesting in Bitcoin and Litecoin too.
Absolutely. Hey, anybody else? Crystal, Aaron, how about you?
Remember Neo? Did you get any Neo?
I had a lot of Neo, and I was lucky to have sold it at 49.
Wow, very lucky.
Yeah, I was really lucky to not see. Basically, we're all friends here. I normally wouldn't say this in a more public forum, but I got my first 3 Bitcoin under $1,200, and then I got 2 more under 2,500, and I wasn't content. I have to learn everything the hard way for some reason. I have to make huge mistakes so that I'm knowledgeable enough to teach others. So I've gone through the mistakes that people make as a new neophyte. I over diversified. I got a client from San Francisco Bay who was way over diversified, who was a referral from you, Aaron, second degree referral. And I realized, oh my God, I'm just a little bit less confused and mixed up than this lady. And it was dealing with her and her 30 altcoins and begging her on 5 different calls, spending 2 hours trying to practically NLP her into getting it all just back into Bitcoin so you can think straight. It was that experience that taught me to keep a tight portfolio. And I agree with Andreas Antonopoulos. If you guys haven't seen this, look it up, search it on Google. The next Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Quote, the next Bitcoin is Bitcoin, unquote, Andreas Antonopoulos. He doesn't mention Litecoin. He doesn't mention Bitcoin Cash. But I think Bitcoin Cash is kind of like the anti-Litecoin, because you've got kind of like a personality leading Bitcoin Cash, and then you've got almost an understated news suppression behind Litecoin. And anyway, that's a whole new tangent. I don't want to go into it now, but we'll improve this as we go. We'll improve the whole thing. So listen, guys, I strongly recommend that you take a 20-minute free session with Aaron here, because Aaron is just as intuitive, empathic, psychic as me. Aaron's also shared the experience of the lottery paradox, where you make a lot of money in a short amount of time, but the personality or the degree of personal health is such that you short circuit from the cash flow and you get too much karma to process. So you want to come to us for this kind of stuff, because we've already been through the hell and can help you avoid it. The secret to all psychic and manifestation phenomena is conscious breath. Is easy. As crazy as that sounds, it's as closest to you as it says it in the Bible. If any of you were raised Christian like me, and then kind of like whatever you decided to do with it, but you read the Bible, as close as your own breath, I am there. It's your breath, guys. It's your breath. That's the divinity. Your physical body plus breath plus consciousness is magic.
And it's the inhale breathing into the exhale, and it's the exhale breathing into the inhale. I was listening to the Bhagavad Gita last night, and that is a part of it. A huge part of the breath work that I do is no pauses.
Right.
Breath. Those are trapdoors in this context for the mind to go elsewhere. And so, yeah, I mean, I made 6 figures when I was working in Silicon Valley as a vice president, and then crypto happened in 2017 for me, and it was like more money than I've ever had. And I mean, it's just and besides that, you also realize that money really isn't the point. Wouldn't it be great if you could be a lightning rod for amazing ideas, for amazing creativity, and then you've got the money to execute?
Yeah. Well, I always had that Tony Robbins programming in the back of my head, but it wasn't until I lived it that I realized being a college athlete and being smarter than average or deeper than average is not enough. to keep you from having almost like a full-blown cancer battle inside your energy body when you get overloaded with money. I'm like, I don't have a gambling addiction. I don't have any drug issues. I'm not like, you know, a meth head. But yeah, everyone implodes when they make a lot of money fast. And everyone that's a client of ours is going to have to be coached through that. They're going to have to be coached through their security budget, because they're probably on someone's ledger, you know, a watch list of someone that probably has crypto, and they're probably dealing with the overwhelm and the hypomania and the mania of saying, holy shit, I can buy and sell whatever I want anytime I want. And every one of our clients is going to experience that level of abundance. And I don't think, frankly, that they're really safe in anyone else's hands, because I've tried to find idealists like me, and I only come across one or two a year, and they're not competent enough to really manage clients. And you are, Aaron, and you know, I'm really honored to be in this like dynamic synergy with you, where we're creating a funnel of getting people healthy, getting people safe, getting people future wealthy, and then being there at the other end of the funnel with the catcher's mitt saying, would you like to be a stakeholder in a bank or a community that basically shows the world how to earthship and food forest an entire area. And that's what I want to be doing with everybody.
That is what I want to do as well, and that is why I'm on your team. I'm glad you're on my team, Rob.
Me too. I'm very honored to be working with you.
Yeah.
Would you like to close us out, Aaron?
And I actually was just going to say too, you know, like to be healthy, to be not stressed too, it is helpful to have really good financial advice, and like just like block and tackle, you know, ideas that Rob comes to, you know, like he's shared with me, you know, things like key logging. Like I wasn't a super big tech person, but you know, being aware that hackers are key logging, being aware of this easy encryption that you can do for yourself. That is like when you've got your password written down, like encrypt it yourself. Have a rule, a formula that you always shift something in every vowel or that allows it to be safe, and not to mention Trezor and whatnot. So anyway, I think that brings us to the end of our call today. Yeah, perfect. It's 12:19. And we're going to record this call. We're going to share it with the group, and we will have another call maybe in a week, but we'll keep everyone posted.
And we might even try different times for foreign time zones.
Right.
Too.
Yeah. We want to help Asia and Australia clients. So.
Maybe we'll do an 11 a.m. and then an 11 p.m. one night or something like that, or something like that. Thanks, everybody. And please feel free to email me or message me on Facebook. And if you're not a client yet, or you want to refer a client, just message me. I'll make it as easy as possible for you.
And please message me to do the free 20-minute session. It actually takes about 30 minutes total of your time. And we do it by webcam.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you guys. Great call.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.